Hey guys, welcome back to a new video where today, we're doing another top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. I'm currently camping, so sorry for the crap lighting and weird background, different background. I'm working with what I got here. So yeah, this has kind of become an annual thing. Every year I talk about my most anticipated movies for the next year, the upcoming year. This time it's 2022. There's a lot of movies I'm excited for, so no point denying, pushing back the inevitable. Let's just get into the list. Coming in at number 10 is The Northman. Now, a lot of people watching this video will probably not know much about this movie, but the main thing is that it's written and directed by Robert Eggers, which is a great director. He directed two movies, The Witch and The Lighthouse. And while I had some problems with The Witch, it was still overall a great movie. And with The Lighthouse, that's just one mindfuck of a movie. I'm gonna be real. It's just a total mindfuck. But it's great. It's great at being that, and it's a really entertaining movie. And this movie looks really promising. It looks like it's going for a much higher budget and higher story than The Witch and The Lighthouse. It has an all-star cast with Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Anna Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, and William Dafoe, and it looks really entertaining, and it looks like it's just going to be a great movie, especially comparing to Eggers' other works, and it follows this man who has a father who has died, and it's about him kind of seeking revenge after that, and I think it's open for like a lot of great stuff that happened in this movie, and I'm just pretty excited for it. Nothing really else to add to it. I'm just quite excited for it. Moving on to number 9. Coming in at number 9 is Halloween Ends. Now, I won't be the first to admit it, but Halloween Kills was kind of disappointing. I thought there was just a lot of stuff I could get into, like a lot of unnecessary stuff, sidelining Laurie, and all that. But I still have faith that Halloween Ends will be somewhat good, or at least watchable. Um, so it's still being directed by David Gordon Green and written by Danny McBride. Sorry, that took a little bit. But I still really enjoy the 2018 movie. A controversial take, but I think that's my favorite of the entire franchise. And yeah, I just have faith that, because I feel like Halloween Kills was sort of like the mid ground. Like they had an idea for the beginning, they had an idea for an ending, but they kind of just didn't know what to do with the middle. Then they had to, they knew they had to do some things, and they killed off that character that I won't talk about. But I think this definitely has potential. Apparently, it's set like a couple years after Halloween Kills, so it's not just gonna be the same night like Halloween Kills was. And put simply, I just have faith in this movie that it will be at least watchable. But yeah, moving on to number 8. Coming in at number 8 is Nope. Now, there's not a lot to talk about this movie, and you probably never heard of it, so you're thinking, why am I excited for it? Well, put simply, it's another film by Jordan Peele, which is kind of slowly becoming one of my favorite directors. He directed Get Out, of course, which is like one of my favorite horror movies. It's just so smart. And it has Daniel Kaluuya in it. Sorry for mispronouncing that, almost definitely. Who was great in Knives Out. That's probably one of my favorite performances ever. And I think the two have a great pair. It also has a lot of other great people on the project, like Stephen Yeun, Ethan Kutkoski. That I'm almost definitely pronouncing that wrong. And I just trust Jordan Peele. I know a lot of people had mixed thoughts on us, but I personally really enjoyed it. I found it a fun time. And I think this movie will just be great, just, because it's Jordan Peele and he's a legend when it comes to directing, and if he keeps up his streak, he might actually become one of my favorite directors. Not my favorite, because no one can ever top Edgar Wright, in my opinion, but he can definitely get up there if he continues his streak of great movies. Moving on to number 7. Coming in at number 7 is Scream 2022 slash Scream 5, because that's what it is. I now realize that it's not actually cancelling out the sequels, it's still going on that continuation. So yeah, this is basically Scream 5 that's still being called Scream 2022. I know that's not the best. I don't like sequels that just name the title the same title as the first one. I think that's kind of stupid. But this film is looking to be really faithful and one of the best Scream movies since the first one, since I know a lot of people like those sequels, but no, they're not for me. I think all of them are pretty boring and slow. But this looks to be a really good sequel, and it's the first one to be directed by, not to be directed by Wes Craven, which is sad because, for obvious reasons he can't direct it. But it is being directed by Radio Silence, who directed Ready or Not, which is a great horror movie. I think that movie's hilarious, but also pretty suspenseful and scary at moments, which is like the perfect mix you need to get in a movie like Scream. And I think it has a great cast. I like how they're going in the direction of like a lot of characters like Dewey, Sidney Prescott. And yeah, this movie just seems like it's going in a really fun and exciting direction for the franchise. And it's actually coming out like in 2 weeks by the time this video is up. So yeah, I guess be expecting a video on this. It's probably going to be a ranking of the franchise. And also, small thing, but I am planning to see this with my friend. So that's just a fun thing to look forward to, watching a movie with one of your pals. So yeah, put simply, I'm just excited for it, and it's coming out in like 2 weeks, so yeah, be on the lookout for a video, probably a ranking of the Scream franchise. Moving on to number 6. Coming in at number 6 is Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, I really enjoyed Taika Waititi's work. Before I'd only seen Thor Ragnarok, of course, but then I went back and watched like Hunt for the Wilder People, What We Do in the Shadows, and then of course I watched his latest movie, Jojo Rabbit, and he's definitely a great director, and I really like his work. And I think what he did in Thor Ragnarok was like a great change of pace for the MCU, even though I know a lot of people kind of didn't like it. It was way too comedic, but I didn't have a problem with it. And I like the inclusion of Jane Foster, bringing her back, since she was a big part of Thor 1 and 2, but they can't forgot about her. But I'd like to see this, like, the Mighty Thor comic brought to the big screen, since I think that's a really interesting idea of making Jane Foster, like, the version of Thor. And also, we have Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. I'm fairly certain that's his name. That's exciting and something to look forward to. Christian Bale is a great actor, and just the idea of like this character who kills gods being a villain in a Thor movie, I think that's a really cool idea, and I have full faith that Taika Waititi will do it well. I hope he doesn't like make like the God Butcher stuff jokey, because he's a very serious character. I don't really want jokes about that. But he has shown that he can do dramatic moments in his film, so I do believe that he could do it really well. And I just have faith in this movie that it will be a great inclusion in Phase 4. Because Phase 4 has been kind of disappointing so far. We have Shang-Chi and Spider-Man No Way Home. I feel like those are the only Phase 4 movies so far that I'd be like, oh yes, this is what Phase 4 is offering. This is great. But yeah, I hope this is a great inclusion of the MCU, and I just have faith that it will be. Moving on to number 5. Coming in at number 5 is The Flash. Now, this movie is hyping itself up a lot. I don't know when this became a thing, but multiverses are very big, especially in this coming year, because, we had Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like that might have been the starting point. But, like, this year we had Spider-Man No Way Home, which, like, no spoilers, but, all the promotional did show, like, the villains showing up from the past movies. And then we're getting Multiverse of Madness. And now DC is throwing their hat into the ring with The Flash, which is supposedly bringing, well, not supposedly, we see it in the first look, but they're bringing back Michael Keaton Batman. They're bringing in a version of Supergirl, apparently, and like different versions of the Flash, and I'm really excited to see that. Michael Keaton is probably my favorite version of the character we've seen in live action. And I'm really excited to see where this plot can go. We haven't seen much, just that first look. But that first look was really exciting. And I do think Ezra Miller is a good Flash. I just... we did see him in Justice League first, which, not the best interpretation of the character. But I don't think it's the way Ezra Miller played the character. I think it's just the way the character was written. I think he was better done in Zack Snyder's Justice League, like in that sequence when he saves Iris. I think that was great. And we also will get Iris in this movie. I like to see that pan out. And we're also getting Ben Affleck back as Batman, which is a great inclusion. I know a lot of people don't like him as Batman, but I think he does a great job as the character. And yeah, this movie is just really hyping itself to be like the DC movie, like the DC movie you just have to watch this year. And I'm really excited to see how it pans out. It could easily fall on his face with the amount of expectations, but I'm really thinking that they have it under control. And not to mention, this movie has been in development hell, so it's really exciting to actually see a version of the movie come to life. And yeah, this movie just looks exciting. Can't wait to check it out in cinemas. Moving on to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is Knives Out 2, or Untitled Knives Out sequel. Since we don't actually know the title yet, I'm hoping they do go for something that's not Knives Out 2, like maybe Knives Out again, more Knives Out, something like that. But put simply, Knives Out was my second favorite movie of 2019, only behind Avengers Endgame, which is like already pretty high praise, because 2019 was a fantastic year for movies. And this movie seems like it's just going to be pretty good. Not pretty good, it seems like it's going to be amazing. Daniel Craig is one of my favorite, like, detectives as Benoit Blanc with the weird-ass accent he does. And this movie does have another all-star cast, like Dave Bautista, Catherine Hahn, Edward Norton, Kate Hudson, Leslie Odom Jr., Ethan Hawke, and a bunch of other amazing actors. And that was kind of the selling point of the first movie, but the first movie had a lot more than just its cast of characters. Even though they were played well, that wasn't all the movie offered. And it was a great subversion of the genre. And I love that it's not just following that cast of characters again. It's a new mystery with just the same detective, and that's it. And it seems like it's going to be set on a boat based on set photos, which is fun. And Benoit Blanc looks great in his like new outfit that he's given in this movie. And it's being written and directed by Rian Johnson, which is kind of controversial because, The Last Jedi. But I think he did a great job with the first movie, and I think he'll do a great job in this movie. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how this sort of movie pans out as a mystery. And I hope it's really engaging. And I just hope that it lives up to these expectations that I have. Not many people probably have high expectations for this movie, but I do. I'm trying to lower those expectations, but I'm still just really excited for this movie. Moving on to number 3. Coming in at number 3 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This movie looks like it's going to be awesome. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the first Doctor Strange movie. I personally have a soft spot for it. I think it's entertaining and a pretty fun and visually great movie to look at. But this movie seems like it's going to bump up all like the visuals and the storytelling to 11 with this movie. It's being directed by Sam Raimi, which is a fantastic director. Of course, he did Spider-Man, the Spider-Man trilogy and the Evil Dead trilogy. And it seems like this movie's kind of a mixture of those both. And it's bringing back Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, which is a great character, and I would love to see how she acts like after WandaVision, because the WandaVision kind of the ending was kind of implied that she was going to do something, and they're bringing in this character called Miss America, which is very patriotic, I guess. I don't know. I don't know much about that character. I just know that they're bringing it in. Benedict Wong as Wong. It seems like he's getting a lot of paychecks to be in these movies. Like he had his small part in Shang-Chi. It seems like he's just going to be like a big character in the MCU from now on. And Benedict Wong does play the character really great, and he's a great bit of comedy, so that's fun he's always fun to see. And they're bringing back Rachel McAdams in what seems like a smaller part in the first movie, but still a part. And it seems like the villain is going to be some version of like an evil Strange, kind of like what we saw in What If with Strange Supreme. But I don't think this is Strange Supreme, just because of how that character ended up being like in the end of What If. But it seems like it's going to be a version of that character, and this movie is just very much hyping itself out, kind of like The Flash. But yeah, I'm still just really excited to see this movie pan out, and I think it's just going to be a very entertaining and fun movie to watch, and it seems like it's going to be possibly the biggest MCU movie, at least coming out this year. And yeah, it seems like it's like a big event, kind of like how Civil War was a big event when it came out. It seems like it's going to be like that sort of big story and big impact to the MCU. So I'm really excited to see how that pans out. Moving on to number 2. Speaking of multiverses, in number 2 we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Now, I did a reaction of the first look where I laid out a lot of my excitement for this movie, but just to reiterate, this movie looks like it's going to be awesome, and it seems like it's going for a much bigger scale than the first movie, and just from like that first teaser we got from that showed like all the different Spider logos, it seems like they're going to introduce a lot of different Spider-Man characters, but still focusing on, of course, Miles Morales, which is probably one of, if not my favorite, like, protagonists in a movie. I just love him in that first movie, and it seems like they're not changing his character much. Like, it's still going to be very much the same Miles, and I would love to see where a lot of these characters, like Peter B. Parker and Gwen Stacy, how they'll end up after, because it seems like it's taking a couple years after the first movie. So I like to see where their characters at, like where did Peter B. Parker go after he reintroduced himself to Mary Jane, and it's bringing in Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099, which is great casting and a great character, and I have full faith that they do it well. And of course, the animation looks like it's going to be just as good, if not a little better than the first movie. And again, it's part 1, so it's going to be a 2-parter, which is exciting because, like, it's kind of like Infinity War and Civil War. Avengers Infinity War, and then Endgame kind of out like their 2-parters. This probably won't be as big as that, but it's still going to tell a bigger story. And I'm just excited because Phil Lord and Chris Miller are still on this project, and like after seeing all their movies, like Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, of course, but also like the Mitchells vs. Machine, even though I know they didn't like direct those movies, I know, but they just had a big part of it. Yeah, it just, I'm really excited for this, and it's a sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, which is like possibly my favorite movie of all time. So you might be thinking, if it's a sequel to possibly my greatest movie of all time, then what could possibly top it? Well, but before we get to number 1, my most anticipated movie of 2022, I'd like to go over some honorable mentions. Just movies that I am still very excited for, but not as excited as these 10 movies. So here are like, I don't know, 10 more movies, I think, maybe probably more than 10 movies that I'm also excited for. So yeah, you can see they're popping up screen. Oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one. I can't read them out loud because I can't be bothered, I guess. I didn't do it last year, so why would I do it this year, I guess. But yeah, ooh, that one looks exciting, I guess. I don't know, I'm trying to just pan this out. Anyways, it seems like we're coming to a wrap on the honorable mentions, so let's just go into my most anticipated movie of 2022. The number 1 pick is, coming in at number 1 is The Batman. Hell yes, this movie looks awesome. Robert Pattinson just, he looks fantastic as Batman, and he looks like he's like going to be as good as Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. He's going to be like up there, and not only that, but the director, Matt Reeves, that's his name. Matt Reeves looks like he's going to be a fantastic director of this. He doesn't seem like he wants to do a Batman movie just to do a Batman movie. He seems like he really cares and understands what this character is, and this looks like it's going to be very faithful to the character, like one of the most faithful adaptations of this character we've seen in live action. And Riddler is like one of my favorite Batman villains, but we've only seen him in Batman Forever, which like we don't want to talk about that adaptation of the character, and it seems like this will be much more like of a better Riddler. Also, we're getting like a rogues gallery of Batman villains. Like we're also getting Catwoman, the Penguin, and a bunch of other rumored characters. Now, keep in mind I haven't seen the second trailer because I'm just that excited for it. I've only seen the first trailer. Sorry, the audio cut out then. But yeah, that first trailer looks incredible, and I just have full faith that Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson will just do this character justice. And not only that, it just looks like a great movie. Like, not just talking about all the Batman stuff, it just looks like it's going to be a great movie in general, and it's just my most anticipated movie of the year. It's coming out March 3rd, so like I don't have to wait that long for it, which is pretty exciting because I know I won't have to wait until like December to watch it. But no, it's coming to me in like 3 months, which is just so exciting to look forward to. I can't wait for this movie. It looks incredible, and yeah, I can't really talk about it anymore. I feel like I haven't mentioned it in this channel before, but yes, it is my number one most anticipated movie of 2022. So yeah, that's my list of my most anticipated movies of 2022. But before we finish and wrap up this year, I'd like to mention some other stuff I'm excited for. So, like TV shows and specials and all that jazz. So, let's get into it. Peacemaker, The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Miss Marvel, Secret Invasion, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Stranger Things Season 4, The Umbrella Academy Season 3, and The Boys Season 3. So yeah, with that out of the way, this video is done, and this will be the last video of 2021, so I hope you had a good year. Let's hope 2022 can be better than these last 2 years, because I thought 2021 was a good year, but could be improved upon, so let's just hope for the best in 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.